Welcome back to Breslov campus. Some insights in the Parsha of the week, Parshat Bamidbar, based on the teachings of Reb Noson, Rabbi Nachman, of course. Reb Noson, he goes in to explain the significance of the mishkan and also the mikdash. This week's Parsha talks about the Jews and their positioning in the desert around the mishkan, the tabernacle, the traveling tabernacle. He says something amazing, Reb Noson. The desert signifies a place which is void of holiness. It's a place of snakes, of scorpions, of demons. It's a place which is impure. The Jews were walking in the desert in these places, and wherever the cloud of glory decided to stop, that is where they erected this holy tabernacle, the mishkan. And the same place which just before, an hour, 2 hours before, was a place of such impurity and emptiness. Snakes, scorpions, demons, no civilization, no water, no food, nothing, empty, just parched. And yet, as soon as they built the mishkan, the tabernacle in that spot, it became transformed into the greatest holiness possible. The same spot, now it's forbidden to walk there. Not anyone can walk into there. Only a high priest or a Kohen, if it's the Holy of Holies, the Heichal, the parts of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the traveling Mishkan, the traveling temple. It became now the holiest spot in the world. No one's allowed to enter there anymore, and it draws the divine presence there. A place that was totally void before now becomes the greatest level of holiness. And then afterwards the same thing, that when the cloud of glory got up and started going forward, the Jews had to dismantle the Mishkan and leave that place in the desert, and the place in the desert resorted again to its emptiness, voidness, snakes, scorpions. There's no holiness fixed in that place where they were just an hour ago, 2 hours ago. Now they dismantled the Mishkan and left no more holiness. This is something unique in life, that even if you feel that you are in a situation of total voidness, total emptiness, scorpions, snakes, how in the world can I connect to Hashem? There is a possibility, this is what the idea of the tabernacle teaches us, a possibility of transforming the biggest emptiness, the biggest void, into the greatest holiness possible. It's called a mishkan. The mishkan, to draw the holiness into a person. To do this, a person is required to connect to the tzaddikim, because the one who initially started the initial erection of the traveling tabernacle, that with this happening, all future dismantling and building, constructing of the tabernacles took place. It was initially, as we see in the Torah, started by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was the one to start the building of the first tabernacle on 8 days before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, like it's brought down in Parshat Shmini, in Chumash of that we're going to see coming up in Parshat Naso. But we see that Moshe Rabbeinu started it, and Moshe Rabbeinu, by instilling that holiness in the Mishkan, it comes to teach every Jew. You yourself may be in a desert, but if you connect to the Torah through the tzaddikim at the caliber of Moshe Rabbeinu, you can transform your desert, which you feel there can't be anything worse than this. I am going through the worst situation possible in the world. No one can be going through the snakes and scorpions and the void and the emptiness that I'm going through my personal desert, and yet it can be transformed to the greatest paradise, to the Mishkan, the tabernacle, where the divine presence was literally shining there. And this is a message Rabbi Nachman, Reb Noson teaches, that every Jew should remember, that even the biggest desert that you're going through can be transformed to the greatest light. But you have to be careful, because it can also switch again, that from the tabernacle, when dismantling it, no longer there, you're back to the desert. What's the key? Is to be traveling with the traveling tabernacle, to be connected constantly to those who have the ability to build the Mishkan, namely tzaddikim at the caliber of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is one of the big themes of Parshat Bamidbar, of the positioning of the Jews in the desert, and the Torah goes out of its way to explain in detail all the tribes, where the situation and everything, and how it's so important how they're traveling and how they are when it's rested, to remind us this greatness of transforming a desert into the greatest holiness possible. And this is always true, and it works both ways, but it's up to you to try to make as your best as possible to transform your desert into a shechina, to a divine presence, to place a mishkan, a tabernacle, and that is dependent mainly on your commitment and being part of the community of Israel, which is based on following the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu and also the tzaddikim of every generation. In that way, you can turn any Gehinnom, any death, any emptiness and void to the greatest light and holiness possible.